Barlow has spent over 2 decades supporting families, building businesses, and driving economic growth in the city. As founder of Weekend Company and the Family Action Network, he has created jobs and championed affordable housing initiatives. His 11-page mayoral plan includes a $500 million business growth fund, rent stabilization, and workforce training for tech and manufacturing jobs. With a background in venture capital, youth mentorship, and policy reform, Mr. Barlow brings a results-driven vision for Detroit's future. Ladies and gentlemen, candidate Jonathan Barlow. Gotta keep that energy going, y'all. Keep the energy going. All right.
I know the other candidates probably put y'all to sleep, but it's all right. Y'all do know that I'm the different one, right? Okay, y'all about to find out. Here, let us stay here for this. We might as well. All right. D1, right? D1, y'all gotta say it with some strength. D1, right? All right. Listen, good afternoon, because we're in afternoon now. Much gratitude and much appreciation to my good friend, fraternity brother, and sometimes my opponent on the debate side, Brother James Tate. Thank you for all the work that you continue to do. I think D1 has has probably been one of the most well-ran districts from a city councilman's perspective. I look at some of the other newsletters and I say, why they got their face in it so much and why does D1's look different? And so I do want to say this. We cannot commit to insanity. Who in here loves Detroit? Like really loves Detroit? Like, okay. I got a few Detroit lovers in here. If you really love Detroit and if you really love something, you don't allow for it to continue to fail or for it to continue to fail you. The system right now is not designed for you all to win. But let me tell you a little bit about myself so you understand where I'm coming from. I'm John Barlow, product of Detroit Public Schools, Wayne State University. I went to Bates Academy and Renaissance High School. Then, after that, I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated at Wayne State, and then ran for city council in 2009. That was the biggest election for city council ever. That's actually when me and Councilman Tate had our first run-ins together. He was actually successful, and the only thing from that race still standing in 2009 is Councilman Tate. Y'all can give a hand to that. He's the only one still standing. And what's so interesting and what's so crazy about that is that you would think that they would come to the one who's been here the longest to ask for that advice or to some of the questions and some of the things that needs to be done. And so my understanding and my awareness of what experience and what conversations and what things he has done over these years, I don't dismiss it. But over the last 15 years since we ran against each other, and actually I found that old email after didn't get past the primary of all the campaign members. But after I lost and Councilman Tate won, I'm not someone who just jumps in front of the camera. I like to work behind the scenes. So if you know anything about Luther Keefe and Arise Detroit, if you know anything about Black United Fund and Ken Donaldson, if you know anything about coaching basketball, or they talk about education, but none of them worked at Central Durfee in Spain like I did. None of them fingerprinted all the employees around the school system to make sure that security checks. So I understand, is it Ms. Werner Felder? I thought I got the name right. When she starts talking about security measures and increasing school safety, I started with DPS 15 years ago. So I know I look young. I'm 40 years old, but when I ran for city council as a 24-year-old, it didn't stop me from working just because I lost. And what happens so many times is with these candidates and these elected officials, if they lose, you don't see them no more. If they win, you still don't see them no more, unless you're Councilman Tate. You actually see him. But but then more than anything, they never talk to each other. They never talk to each other before, during, or after the election cycle. And that's why leadership continues to stay fragmented. It continues to stay scattered. So I bet you're wondering, like, why is he talking about these things? Because it's the system, it's the landscape. It's the ability to bring leaders together to have them at the table when decisions need to be made. And if you can't foster that type of village approach, you should not be mayor. If you can't bring everybody to the table or have not done so as of yet, you should not be running for this office. So let me tell you what I did last year. Let's Talk Roundtable.com, a program now started where I facilitate roundtables all across the city. We hosted 300 leaders between 13 roundtables to make sure that we cover everything from moms in business and entrepreneurship to health and wellness to men. We talked about men in the Democratic Party during the election to understand why Black men especially, weren't gleaning and going and running to the Democratic Party to help and support some of the initiatives that we have on the ground floor. But more than anything, the legacy that I've been planning in from my grandfather's side, who started an organization called Moses, and he pastored for 40 years down in Southwest Detroit, District 6, Ecorse, River Rouge, Southwest down there. My mom ran as the secretary, she was the secretary of board for the Detroit Public Schools. Then she went over to water, so trust me, I got some insight on what happened with your water bill and how the drainage fees started going up. But then even more so than anything, I was able to see her matriculate through these different positions that she had. But guess who I got to watch? I got to watch Mike Duggan from the back as he came in these offices, coming in these back rooms, making and fixing deals well before he was mayor. And so what I started to do 15 years ago was become a problem solver. I started to find the problems that we had here, but then I also wanted to know, how do they resonate and how do they look in other markets across the country? So when you talk about mass incarceration, when you talk about decriminalization, when you talk about prisoner reentry, we have to look at where those national offices are housed at. We have, so that we can understand why our young men and young women who come out the prison industrial complex aren't getting the jobs or aren't getting the resources or aren't being lifted up. And it's probably because the national initiatives where they're housed at aren't making their way back here. Let me give you case in point. Mass incarceration. Does anybody know where the national office is? It's in Ebenezer Church. Anybody know about Ebenezer Church in Atlanta, Georgia? Who pastors there? Warnock. You know what I get when I go to Warnock's church? They say mass incarceration down south doesn't look like mass incarceration up here, so they don't give us nothing. They don't say nothing. They don't share anything. But that's how, again, how fragmented our communities are from city to city, state to state, and here in Detroit from block to block. But let me bring it on home. I have an 11-page plan. It's the only plan you've probably ever seen in this election cycle, because they got a lot of political rhetoric and cliches, but they have no plan. They have a theory. They talk about how I want to get it done, how I think it can happen. No, you need a plan. Have you ever been an employer and not, or been someone who wanted to contract a vendor and they didn't give you a proposal? They done gave y'all websites galore and flyers galore with no plan. And y'all are about to accept it if you don't wake up. Now, I want to make history. I want to do something that has really never been done. My plan calls for us to reach every family and bring the most money, jobs, and homes into this city. Why do I believe I can do that? Because I've helped mayors do it already. I partnered with the Illinois State Chamber to go across the country to help African American mayors who did not have enormous or massive populations go after federal funds. And I did that by increasing their capacity, because you have to have lobbyists and other grant writers on deck as a mayor, as you manage these 3,400 employees. None of them have managed more than 35. And we're about to give over the whole city to someone that has that in order to manage 3,500, and they ain't did 35. They haven't built a business. They haven't seen you go to the land bank and be denied. I told y'all I was different. I tried to warn you, but let me make it hit home. Going to Basin Renaissance, that was cool. But some of the fondest memories I have is from this neighborhood. My friends stay on Burt. His mom, the Brumels, they stay in that cul-de-sac right when you come off behind Global Empowerment. But then even more so, I understand how this thoroughfare all the way going to Evergreen has not been developed properly because of several different reasons. But it means that our business owners aren't being empowered properly, and the things aren't getting back. So what I want to do, my plan calls for this: community innovation hubs. That means I'm going to come and create one-stop business centers and health and wellness centers right here in the community, to make sure that every resource that a senior, a vet, a youth, or a family might need is right here. And I'm going to do it in conjunction with your city councilman. But what's that going to do? It's going to spur innovation like never before, because we can no longer sit here and expect the future to come to us. We have to go and take it. I'm going to open it up for questions, and I'm going to hit all the points because I got some notes that I still probably ain't shared with you. But listen, I love Detroit. I love Detroit. And I know based off of the hands, you love Detroit too. So let's get a leader in office that actually cares and loves every family and won't overlook anyone. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much as well. Y'all can give him a round of applause. Any questions? We have a microphone available. We got a microphone. Speak now or forever. Well, no, you can still vote.
I wanted to ask him, okay, I wanted to ask you, you say you work with other mayors. Could you give the mayor's names and the cities in which you work?
Strong Arkansas, that's number one. Go down there. We got them probably about, I think we did maybe about a few million down there in increasing their capacity. They went after some grants, mostly Black mayors. There are a few mayors in Georgia and in Virginia that I can get you the names of. Of course, I do a lot of this work with some of my partner firms. It's not just me. I will never say that one person did everything. I do have partners, but again, I fix problems. I'm the same one that goes on his own dime to Congressional Black Caucus in DC every September to see all these leaders get in one room just to bring nothing back to you. So please believe I can give you a list. Please, I'll get your name before I leave, and I'll supply you the full list and exactly how much we were able to get them to increase. But again, that I just want you to know that I conducted that process, but that's not the situation that Detroit is in. Detroit constantly goes and sues for car insurance, and then the follow through is total business. It's not there. So when they say they're going to go do something, we have to hold them accountable and make sure the follow through is there so that we don't incur the same issues. $1 million budgets, $1,000 results. That's what you keep on getting.
Okay, I have two questions. I'm Gloria, and thank you, young man. I appreciate your energy and enthusiasm and your ideas and your strength. I would like to know what would you do for the veterans? My whole family have been military. All my life, I've been in the military, what they call us brat, but I'm not a brat. So I just would like to know what would you do in your ideas about the health and fitness and all of that, because a lot of them deal with health and fitness, disabled and whatever. That's one. And then you kind of like hit on the end about the insurance. My thing is, I wanted to ask every candidate, what are you going to do about the insurance thing here in Detroit? Those are the two.
I'm gonna do the insurance second. I want to deal with the first one, which was the veterans. Dean Evans, he's a 37-year-old veteran. Used to be a bus driver, now he's working for a transportation company. He just continues to tell me stories about what he saw both coming out of service, but then as he's been able to come across different vets being a bus driver and now a transportation company. Let me tell you a story about this one gentleman. You probably can find him quicker than not. He sits right there when you come up 8 Mile on the service drive at 8 Mile in Southfield. When you make that turn, you know the gentleman, but you know the location. Yeah, because you got the window and glass shop right there. So when you make that turn, the house right there, I want to say it starts with an A. I want to say I don't want to misspeak his name, but this is what I did. I stopped there the other day. I didn't know he was a vet, but I think advocating on their behalf is one of the first things, and this is why I say that. He went down to the VA. They told him to apply for some type of consistent monthly stipend. And at some point, they said we were giving you too much money. So then they start taking $1,000 out a month and told him he owed like $50,000. But he said he got that information from going down to the VA. Now get this. When they start taking $1,000 out every month, his wife had a brain aneurysm. He had to sell the only transportation shuttle that he was using to make a few extra dollars. His house is falling apart. The shingles and the slates off the front is falling apart. But he does the best that he possibly can. And his children are trying his best to help out. I say all that to say this. If we're not advocating or clinically reaching every family to understand what their situation is, whether it's trauma, mental health that they might be experiencing, and making sure that they have the psychological as well as the dietary and nutritional pathways to become somewhat whole again, we're not doing our job. We're constantly overlooking people if we're not knowing what it is that they're experiencing and where it is that they need to end up at and how they're going to get there. Secondly, when it comes to car insurance, let's put you like this. Brother Hassim, who probably left, who's another candidate, we've talked a number of different times about creating a city insurance company. A lot of things have been bounced around. My thing is this. Someone who's not going to drop the ball and just sweep it under the rug until next election cycle is what we need. Whatever actions they have taken, suing the state has not worked because the language that was in legislation did not give you the results that you needed. And so ultimately, my goal is I only deal with experts. I'm gonna bring the best experts to the table to make sure that I can create that not only a banking system, but an insurance system that the city owns in order to do the things necessary for its citizens, including, I'm gonna cut bus fare for everybody. We ain't making no money off the buses anyway. They ain't running properly, and the app ain't never updated. So I'm gonna cut fares all across the board. In addition to that, I'm gonna put rent control in place, and in addition to that, I'm gonna make the city start creating its own grocery store so we have not this food desert that we see every day. Did I answer your questions?
So we have time for one more question. Gary, you got one in already? We want to go with this D1 resident. This is our last question for Mr. Barlow, but we want to make sure he gets his information to the community prior to him leaving.
You said your program or your planning would be based on money, jobs, and home. I'm with the missus right here. She's talking about vets. I'm talking about senior citizens What about their well-being? What about a person's well-being? What about doing quality checks when they're in the nursing homes, or if they're at home alone on hospice, or not being taken care of properly? What can you do to reach out to seniors who have just been unheard of or left alone or lived on their own? What
Once-
is their well-being?
One senior at Jennings Senior Home on the east side off of Jefferson, she told me this. She said, I didn't know how much, I did not know that growing up, when the old elders used to tell me that don't nobody look out for us, that they was telling the truth. Now that she's a senior, and she did it almost with a tear coming down her eye. She said, ain't nobody looking out for us. Let me tell you this. None of the senior homes or nursing homes are allowing for community to be built. That's first of all. They need to be able to talk to each other and to be able to create their own community. So I need to make sure that those communication lines become more prevalent and more visible. Because one senior home next door to another shouldn't have a senior prom, and then the other one sitting over there like, we ain't got nothing to do. Secondly, Keon Clinton, who's a fraternity brother of mine, who does a lot of senior expos at Focus Hope. I want to make sure his programming starts to go to the senior homes and the nursing homes, because we can't always bus seniors into a central facility to have an experience. In addition to all of that, again, my goal is to reach every family clinically. So if I cannot understand what that senior is experiencing, or if that senior has a family to support them, then I'm not doing my job. And so closing the digital divide, holding their hand, just like I hold the entrepreneur's hand, to make sure that they are getting and leveling up and actually winning rather than losing, trying to win, is my ultimate goal. So more programming straight to them, just like for our youth, who we only get 8,000 of them in the employment program every summer. We have to increase this. And get this, I'm gonna be honest with you. They stealing money. They stealing money, and I'm gonna say it again, they stealing money. Because there's no way in the world that we still got the same situation 15, 20, 30, 50 years later, and all this money that came through on an annual basis. I want a full transparency, accounting technology installed. I'm the only technology guy to do it. So please, put me in place so I can be y'all man on the inside. I love y'all. Catch y'all next time.
It sounds like you talked about websites. Do you have websites and phone numbers on how they can get in touch with you?
They all get to me, but Barlow, yeah. It comes directly to me, and get this. I don't care who gives you their number.